Hello chess friends and welcome to your Out of Chess channel and welcome to a spectacular match that you have now requested many times here on my YouTube chess channel. Today we're watching really a spectacular battle for prestige. Today we're trying to decipher which chess engine is now the second best chess engine in the world. So obviously the big fish, the Stockfish 16 engine is of course still the most powerful engine in the world, but in the last couple of weeks we have seen really huge improvements by Leela C0 and the Torch chess engine, and that's I think the battle that we also want to see, because now in the qualifying round of the Computer Rapid Chess Championship that we have followed now, the Torch chess engine only finished with half of the point less than Stockfish 16, which was I think a huge result. No one in the past could even scratch the Stockfish engine. It was always a huge difference. For instance, in some other Computer Rapid Chess Championship, Bullet Blitz Chess Championships, it was always a huge difference, like 16, 20, maybe even 50 points in some tournaments. So it was simply a huge difference. Now with only half of the point less than Stockfish, I think the Torch engine proved itself really as a really powerful chess engine. And Leela C0, for instance, yesterday destroyed the big fish, the Stockfish 16 chess engine, with the black pieces in a beautiful, spectacular game. So maybe it's not the time right now. Maybe still this Torch and the Leela C0 chess engine cannot beat the big fish, but they're getting better and better, and finally we have I think a great competition in which maybe sometimes we'll see also a Stockfish finishing on the second place. Maybe Leela C0 can win some tournament, maybe the Torch chess engine can win some tournaments, but so far I would say still it's a pure domination by the fish. But it will be very interesting now to see what's going to happen in the computer chess world. So I've sorted out really a beautiful game from the Computer Rapid Chess Championship semifinals that we have followed now in the last couple of days, and let's talk about the current standings. Still Stockfish 16 is in the lead. Leela C0 has 3 points less than Stockfish, and the Torch chess engine is behind Leela C0 with 1 point less than Leela, which is I think again a close enough result for both of this engine, because as I said in the past it was always like plus 20 for Stockfish, plus 40, plus I don't know 50. It was simply a huge difference between Stockfish and the other engines. Now the engines are getting closer, so this will be now I think a beautiful era for us now to follow. So let's see now one game with the white pieces. The Leela C0 opened with the move d4. We have d5 by the Torch chess engine, and now we have very popular opening, the accelerated London system. Very wild stuff. So we have knight to f6, e3, and now we have this symmetrical idea here by black going into this bishop to f5 line. Now in my opinion, the best way here to proceed is to hit the pawn move c4, because black is left now the defense of the b7 square. So that's why I think you have to be progressive now. You cannot play in this normal, I don't know, slow London system way with c3, knight to d2, I don't know, knight to f3, because I think black will also have with e6, c5, knight to c6 a decent development, has also the powerful bishop out. So black could I think equalize the game in an early stage of the opening. So that's why I think c4 here is still the most optimal way here. I think it's the most active way here to proceed. And if you are interested maybe into the London system, I've created more than 30 videos about how to play the London system with the white pieces. So here's the link of the playlist. I've explained also this particular line in a slightly deeper way, how to proceed from this point on. So it's here after move c4 we have now the move c6, knight to c3, and now here Torch played now the move queen to b6, hitting now the weak pawn on b2, queen to d2. We have d takes c4, bishop to c4, e6, and now very interesting choice here by Leela C0, knight from g to e2, preparing now f3, g4, h4, g5, h5, hitting now both of these minor pieces with some pawn movements here. So bishop to e7, we have f3, bishop to g6, h4 here by Leela C0, and here what should you do? For instance, many of us I think would play the move c5, but this isn't good, because then you have this one, knight to a4, we hit the queen, and you have to step back, and we pick up now this piece, so it's simply not working. So it's simply I think too powerful, this attack against the pawn on c5. So that's why here the Torch engine played now knight from b to d7, preparing of course the move c5 and trying to get rid of this space advantage here that white is now in the center of the board. Here Leela C0 continue with the move e4, connecting both of these pawns in the center. We have h5, blocking out the potential h5 move here by Leela, and now bishop to e3. indirectly, of course, hitting the queen. The huge threat is now something like d5 followed with knight to a4. Again, many problems here around the square. c5, queen to b4, hitting the bishop, bishop to b3, and now e5 here played by Torch. We have queenside castling. Very interesting choice. The problem, I think, here also for black is that after move e takes d4, you don't gain anything. The knight on d4 would be then simply too powerful. Then knight to f5 in some lines could happen. The queen could be endangered. Look at this. The knight is connected to the bishop a3. Then the queen has to step back. So many pieces are now coordinated in a good way here in the center of the board. So allowing this knight to jump here, I think, isn't a good idea here for black. So here after move queenside castling, that's why Torch played now the move kingside castling. We have now queen to e1. And this game, from a seemingly static London system in the beginning, transposed now, I think, into beautiful dynamic opposite castling position, where now the kings are on opposite sides. So now black is trying to launch the flank attack on the queen side. White is of course trying to launch the flank attack on the king side. So I really loved to see this imbalanced games in top engine level, because again we'll see probably good spectacular tactics in the middle game stage. So here Torch played a5 immediately with the threat to play the move a4. We have bishop to c2, Leela retreats, and now rook from f to e8. Here, if you try a4 to proceed here, it wouldn't be good. Then this is also a threat that black has to take care of, because after knight to e5, we have this one, a3, and where are you going to go? If you play queen to a5, then the problem is now something like this. You can even grab now this pawn. For instance, if you try here queen to c4, then queen to g3 is also very unpleasant to handle. Then follow with knight to f4, knight takes g6, f4 e5 in some lines is an opportunity. Again, even rook to d4 is an opportunity. So the queen on c4 is a little bit misplaced, will of course not stay forever on this beautiful square c4. So as I said, here to attack the queen side is of course not immediately possible. So that's why here the Torch engine realized maybe some tactical threats on the e file, because probably the e file is going to be open. So that's why here there are some tensions also against the queen. We have g4 here by Leela c0. That's the way to go. That's how you play opposite side attacking chess. Now you're trying maybe even to sacrifice something, but you're trying, of course, to let the position explode now here on the king side. We have h takes g4, and now beautiful follow-up h5. That's the beauty about this attack. What should you do? For instance, if you try g takes f3, this wouldn't be good. Then we pick up, of course, this one. You can pick up on this one. We play queen to e2. You could maybe try to attack further the position, but now look at this. After g takes f7, queen to c4, I think in the next couple of moves, you can resign the game. For instance, if you play here knight to h5, instead of something else, then we have this one. You can play f takes g4. Then if you try something like, I don't know, knight to f6, then again we kick away the queen. And you could maybe try this tactic with queen to c4. Now there is maybe the threat knight takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop to e4, and then you cannot take because here of the pin by the queen against this minor pieces. But then actually gets very messy. Look at this, what Leela has prepared. This wasn't the continuation, but I was really curious, can maybe black defend his position here on this side of the board. Look at this. After queen to g3, you maybe are trying this one, knight to e4, but now with queen to h3, we're threatening checkmate. You have to liberate now yourself a square now, and after d takes e5, the knight is hanging. You play knight to e5, but now with rook to d4, as I said, that's the issue. There's always this defensive but also counter-attacking resource here with rook to d4, and now the knight will be taken. It's game over here for black. So see, after h5, you cannot play here this one. You cannot play knight to h5, so that's why here bishop to h7 was played by the Torch chess engine. We have h6, really stunning move. We have now g takes f3, but now first queen to g3 threaten the checkmate here on g7. Now you have to play strange move g6, locking out now your bishop. Your bishop is now blocked out by its own pawn structure. Now Leela c0 has enough time to pick up this annoying pawn on f3 and still remains with this powerful control with his two pawns. Now the files are opened. Now we have also provoked some weaknesses here. It's a perfect, I think, setup here by white. Perfect attack so far by Leela c0. So we have queen to d6, getting in front of the rook, but so far it doesn't bring you anything. We simply pick up here the pawn if you try something like d takes e5. So that's why very nice move here by Leela. Rook to f1, building a queen and rook battery now on the f file. We have queen to c7, and now a beautiful move d5. What should you play? For instance, if you play c takes d5. Then the beautiful move is, of course, knight to d5. You play knight to d5, then queen to f7 is, of course, winning the game. So that's why here, I think with this move, rook to f1, Leela shows how to really play attacking chess, include simply more attackers into the game, includes the last piece that hasn't played so far in the game. That's the way to go. Sometimes in chess, when you don't know what to do, just include the last piece that hasn't played so far in the game, and I think you'll not make a mistake. So here, queen to c7, played by the Torch Chess engine. d5 anyway, here by Leela c0. We have rook to f8, bishop to g5. Now there is a huge threat of d6. For instance, if you try something like, I don't know, b5 to be progressive here, then you get a fork, d6, and suddenly the bishop gets deflected from the defense of the knight in f6. Now we pick up the piece, and this is again game over here for black. Really, really cool tactics prepared here by Leela c0. So after move bishop to g5, we have bishop to d8, d6 anyway by Leela c0. Torch retreats now to b8, and now knight to a4. This is a beautiful, beautiful move, because this move is again preventing the move b5. Torch didn't play it, but here, for instance, if you play now the move b5, then you have again a beautiful deflection with the move knight to c5. Look at this, knight to c5, and now bishop to f6 is suddenly getting actively into the game. We can include maybe the queen later, and suddenly, again, the dark square problems could be very, very messy here for black. Really, really cool move, the move knight to a4. That's why queen to a7. Here, trying, of course, to control the c5 square. We have bishop to e3. Look how Leela is battling now against this potential b5 move. That would be, I think, sort of a liberating move for black. Finally, black could attack also the queen side here, but now here b6 was played by the Torch engine, and now king to b1. A calm improvement of the king. That's the way to go when we have this opposite castling positions. Of course, it's time sometimes even to play this calm king to b1 improvement, not allowing maybe to get attacked through the c file. So we have queen to b7, bishop to g5, queen to a7, queen to c3. We have now the move b5, and again bishop to f6. Again, there is simply sort of an overload here by black's pieces, because after bishop to f6 now comes rook takes f6. This is the way to go. For instance, if you play knight takes f6, this wasn't again Torch continuation, but look at this, with queen to e5, the game is almost over here. You have to play something like, I don't know, knight to h5 in order to keep the g7 protected. But now look at this, knight to c5, you have many beautiful chances here. Rook to h1 with the threat, rook takes h5 followed with queen to g7, checkmate. d7 d8 is in some lines an opportunity. Bishop to b3, hitting here the structure on f7 is also huge threat. Many tactical opportunities. So that's why after move rook to f6, you see you cannot pick up now the rook here. Torch played now b takes a4, and at least open somehow here the attack against a white king on the b file. So rook to f3, we have queen to a6, queen to d2. We have now the move a3, rook takes a3. Here Leela protected the third rank in a good way, keeps also the pressure here, and has also nice defensive resources. For instance, if you get attacked through the b file, then you have also a nice rook to b3 as a nice defensive resource. So here king to h8, bishop to d3, rook to b6, queen to b6. Now comes this idea, as we have seen, rook to b3, we have queen to f2, and now rook to c3, hitting now the weak pawn on c6. Rook from a to c8, queen to c1, and now queen to b6. Look how Leela played in a good positional way, simply forced again black to retreat, never allowed to create at least any counterattacks here on this side of the board. So bishop to c4, simple improvement of the piece, hitting also the weak pawn on f7. We have rook from c to d8, king to a1, f6, and now a3. We have knight to b8, and now rook to d2, supporting, of course, this most annoying, I think, pawn now to handle for black, because this pawn is a passer. It's supported, it has good opportunities to be even further supported, so it's not one of those weak pawns that you try to advance and then you have to worry about it. Now I think this pawn is perfectly fine with the opportunity to get even promoted in the later stage of the game. So we have bishop to g8, bishop takes g8, rook takes g8, rook to f3, hitting now the weak pawn on f6, knight to d7, queen to c4. Now the queen sneaks in. It's really tricky position here by Leela c0. Queen to b7, rook to b3. Look how coordinated, how well protected are the pieces of white. So everything is really glued together, compact. It's like the pieces are playing in beautiful harmony. Still, look at this. The rook is here paralyzed to the protection of the g7 square. So really a nice attacking flow here by Leela c0. Queen to c8, we have rook to g3, rook to f8, kicking away the queen, queen to c4, and now knight to b6, knight, queen to c5, knight to d7, and all of these tiny little moves that Leela played now forced torch somehow to defend, but now Leela says, okay, I'll take out now another pawn because your pieces are far away from the action. Okay, in some other lines, maybe it would be dangerous to open the A and B file, but now I think, again, look at this, the rooks are simply too far away from the action, so it's perfectly fine to pick up now the weak pawn on a5. So here queen to b7, we have queen to a4, we have queen to b5, queen to c2. Again, Leela doesn't want to slow down the pace of the game, doesn't want to simplify the game by trading off the queens, which is, I think, also a good choice, because there are also some problems here. Then you have also then maybe then the weak pawn on h6, so maybe black can force also a nice endgame out of this position. So that's why very, very nice move to keep the queens on the board. Rook to b8, we have knight to c1, nice defensive move, not allowing in some lines the queen to come on b3. So far, of course, it's not possible, but we want to play freely with our rook, so that's why in some lines, if the queen comes here, then maybe there are some tactics. Also, knight to c5, knight to b3 could be an opportunity, knight to c1, nice solid defensive move here by Leela. c0, c5 by torch, we have h7. Interesting move here by Leela. For instance, if you play king to h7, then you get this one, queen to d1, you have to step back, and now there is even a beautiful rook sacrifice that's possible. Torch didn't play this, but again, I was really curious what would have happened if you play something like this. Look at this, what happens, you get a couple of checks, and now after a couple more moves, you get even checkmated here with rook to g8. Really wild stuff. So after move h7, you cannot play king to h7, you have to play rook to g7, and this move h7 disconnects these rooks in a beautiful way. That's really stunning move. Maybe it's not so spectacular, it doesn't seem so spectacular, but this move, although probably this pawn will be lost, but it's doing something, because the rook connection is, of course, a very important state of the game. Now look at this, when the rooks are disconnected, now here Leela c0 played rook to b3, the queen has to step back, continue now the pressure on the c file, you have to play now g5, and now knight to e2. Here Leela is targeting new weaknesses, because you advance the pawn, okay, you have now some opportunities here now, but you have leaving now also now the f5 unprotected. Now Leela is trying knight to g3, knight to f5. So here, of course, when you have this move knight to f5, then of course also the pawn on d6 is becoming stronger and stronger. So we have rook takes h7, knight to g3 as promised, and now knight to f5. Now this pawn is really the most annoying piece. Let's flip the board. I would maybe love to see now the black's perspective. Imagine you're playing this kind of a position with the black pieces, and you have to handle this kind of pawn on d6. I would be really scared. I would not love to play this game for sure, although you have maybe some chances with these pawns here. But even if you start to push the pawns, then of course you're weakening your king. So really devastating position here for black. Here in the game, queen to b5, rook to h2, rook takes h2, couple of trades of rooks, knight to f8, and now again a beautiful maneuver here by Leela, maybe getting use also of the weak d5 score. So many holes in black's camp, many weaknesses here in the center of the board. Rook to b7, queen to f2, hitting now also the pawn. We have knight to d7, knight to d5, king to g7 in order to protect this pawn, and now knight to c7. Look how this knight is hopping all over the board. Really annoying piece again to handle. We have queen to b6 and queen to h2. What should you play? If you play queen to d6, of course you get the fork, the royal fork here on e8. So it's not possible. So that's why rook to c7. But now after d takes c7, it becomes simply a one-way ticket. Whatever it would have done, because also from this square, of course, knight to e6 was a huge threat. Then also rook to h3, rook to h7. So this position was simply undefendable, and here the torch engine was so annoyed probably here. It simply sacrificed the rook now for the exchange, but it's now a different story. Leela c0 pushed the pawn further with the move a4, creates of course this passer, and this is of course completely winning endgame here for white. So we have king to f7, queen to c4, queen to d5, queen to a7, b3, keeping everything compact. We have now the move c4, and now rook to c4. Here if you try maybe some knight to b6 fork ideas, then queen to c5 is again solving the positional problem, so you cannot play of course also this one. So that's why from rook to c4 we have g4, queen to d1, we have now rook to c3, attacking now the pawn, and now after rook to g3, rook takes g2, nothing wrong with this pawn, so it can be also taken, and again white is having a beautiful endgame here. So queen to d4, queen takes d4. Here the torch engine tried to simplify the game, but Leela c0 simply pushed the pawn further, of course promoted here after a couple more moves to a new queen, and now after a couple more moves we have a stunning Here, continuation, nothing can be done. Here, after a couple more moves, Leela C0 could have probably played even better moves, but here, when the king came here to d4, we have now this beautiful pattern here, and after queen to b3, the game was over here for the Tor chess engine. So, pooh, really nice positional game. I think when we watch sometimes Leela C0's chess games, they're more understandable to our humans because the Stockfish games are sometimes too brutal. You cannot basically analyze in, I don't know, 20-minute or 25-minute video everything that Stockfish has prepared or Stockfish has calculated. But sometimes Leela C0's games are really beautiful for us to follow because they're more positional. They're applying these ideas of weak squares, positional trades of pieces, improvements of minor pieces, positional ideas. I don't know, really the concepts that I would teach someone if they start to play chess. So that's why I think we can rely more to Leela C0 games than Stockfish games. Stockfish games, as I said, sometimes are so spectacular. They are of course beautiful, but sometimes you don't know what's going on, what kind of sequence is possible here, and that's, I think, the beauty about Leela C0. So I think we'll follow also Leela in the next couple weeks further because it's becoming also stronger and stronger, and it also beat, as I mentioned, the Stockfish engine with the black pieces yesterday in a beautiful game. Please check out the game. I guarantee you will have fun because it has such an amazing and spectacular pattern in the middle game stage. So as I said, here's the link of the video if you want to check it out, and if you want to see maybe some other beautiful spectacular chess games like this, check out also here our commented chess games played by computers. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say? Chess is the best, of course.